Okay, well, today was a red day after 5 green days in a row, and I got one more trading day left in the week, in the month. And as long as I don't have a red day on Friday, then I'll have my seventh green week in a row. I got a little tricked by the market today. Started my entry here, first entry right out the gate, and I should have waited on the 5 minute time frame to pull back to the EMA. But I jumped the gun thinking it might go right away, and it did go, but the wrong direction. So took a loss first thing by covering by selling my long right there. So recognizing we have that EMA that we just pulled back to, it also has this support right here, so went long there. Nice big move up, selling half. Exited some more there. And feeling confident that this might break the pre-market high, I went ahead and added back at the fair value gap and the 9 EMA. Sold half right under the high. Sold a little more up there. As we are coming up into a resistance, as can be seen on the 1 hour and 4 hour time frame there. But I wasn't really watching that. Like I said, I wasn't quite tuned into the market and ended up adding way above the fair value gap. And that big drop took me from being up 40 on the day, recovering my loss, being up 40, and suddenly looking like I might end up being break even. The fact that there was a bearish fair value gap now, I ended up selling half of that at a loss. Now it is bouncing off of that support line that I have drawn there, but I didn't have that drawn when I was trading live. I wasn't even watching that support level, and that would have been a good place to buy. Instead, I was selling my position that I had taken long already for another loss. So playing against the trend here, but we do have a bearish fair value gap, and so I'm shorting into that fair value gap to see what happens. As soon as the next candle closes above it, I get out of my short and I instantly flip long. It looks like a FOMO trade, but it's actually a really good setup. It's too bad I got in so high. It was just moving up so quick. But I recognized really quickly we overtook that bearish fair value gap and flipped it long. So that was my reasoning for flipping long with it. And because I didn't reset my share size because it was happening so quick, I had to get in 3 times. And then I'm selling. And I'm exiting all of it, the rest of it right there at the top. And then we get that big drop. And now I'm adding back at the fair value gap. But I'm not at full position size, so I add 2 more times on this. And what I should have been doing was exiting because we just breached a bullish fair value gap. So I did exit half there at about break even. Exited a little more right there on that little push up. And seeing as how we failed, it failed to break through that bullish. It failed to come back up above that bullish fair value gap. The fact that we broke below it, back tested it a couple of times, and that obvious failure on that candle here. I shouldn't have been holding this, but I do end up. What I end up doing is getting in, adding to my position, which I think is probably a mistake. We'll see here. And recognizing that bearish fair value gap, I end up getting out part of my position, probably selling half right there. And then I exit the rest right there. Now we are down at that support line again, but there is the bearish fair value gap, and it's looking like a 1 minute downtrend. We'll see what happens here. But it is a pullback on the 1 minute time frame. You know, I suspect that if I had that line drawn while I was trading, I probably would have been going long at that support level, even though there's a bearish fair value gap. We'll watch the bearish fair value gap and see if we breach it like we did that last one. Okay, same drill as before. I'm shorting into the bearish fair value gap. I'm exiting half of the trade because that last candle closed above the bearish fair value gap. And there I am all out of that trade for a very small loss, possibly break even. Seeing as how this candle failed to break to see continuation, I ended up shorting here thinking that this thing might just roll over. Took half profit to exited the rest right there. I thought this was looking bullish, so I went ahead and flipped long. In here, I'm holding through a pullback, tried to exited half of it, and then another half of that half. Exited another partial for some profit. But the thing to note here is that this support level right here is not holding. You can see we should have bounced off of that and continued higher. It's not holding. Coming back down. This is where I should be getting out. And I do end up exiting here on the blue arrow, but on the yellow one, I'm back in long again. I guess I'm looking at this clustered area here as a possible support. Not the best idea in my mind. And of course, I took a loss on that. All out, and then jumping right back in again, going long. And a big breakdown. Luckily, I got out before, it flushed down like that. But at this point, I'm definitely red on the day. Now here we have a bearish fair value gap, but we also have this bullish fair value gap here. And I'm looking for a little bounce off of that area. So right away, I'm exiting partial positions as we're pulling back into that fair value gap and up against the EMAs. And as I should, I exit the entire position, and I see it rejecting off of the EMA. And I quickly flipped short, taking partial position or half my profit there. And here I hold through a pullback, almost added to it, but decided not to. And it comes down even more, and I take another partial. And then on that push below the low of day, I end up selling or getting out of the rest of it. I missed my entry here on that retest of the bearish fair value gap. Ended up jumping in it while it was moving down. So in a little lower than wanted to be, but that's okay. Quickly sell half of that, cover half of that. Take a little bit more off the table. And again, holding through another bounce play here. And I remember trying to add to one of these bounce plays, but my order didn't get filled. And so I end up adding, I didn't get to add on this bounce play, but I added on this bounce right here. And of course, that one came up there and stopped me out. So when it looked like I was finally going to get back to green on the day, suddenly I'm right back into the redness. Okay, so in my mind when I was looking at this, and again, I did not have this support line drawn here, this now resistance. I saw a breach through a bearish fair value gap and a back test to the EMA and a bullish fair value gap, and that was my reasoning for getting in here. What I didn't do was have that line drawn, and had I drawn that line, I would have seen up here in the 1 minute time frame, you got your M pattern and then a back test of that and a bearish fair value gap on the 1 minute time frame. This is an awesome setup to short, and I completely missed it. I didn't see it till several minutes later, and that's uncharacteristic of me. Had I seen that, I definitely wouldn't have gone long here because this is an excellent short. But anyways, so this one, it breached that fair value gap, so I exit immediately. And here I'm trying to catch the move down, going short but not waiting for the bounce to take place. So I ended up having to cover for a loss, and then I jump right back in. So technically I should have just held that position I was in, but anyway, whatever. I jump back in it now because this feels like the bounce, and I don't want to miss the move down. And there's the nice move down, taking half profit. Adding here again on a small bear value gap. And this was a rough stop out. I was almost at my max loss, and I added right here. It looked like I was going to start to make a comeback. Added right here, and that got me to my max loss right there. A little bit more than my max loss, and that was all she wrote. And of course, had I waited for it to come up to that bear fair value gap, I could have added to my position there instead of down here, and this thing just kept on going down. And that's the way my day ended. So let's see what happens on Friday.